tries to postpone short selling transaction.
Good afternoon, viewers. Nija and Singapore Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Claranta Wijaya, and this is Market Headlines. Yes, viewers, President Joko Widodo asked for evaluations for the ongoing Restricted Commodity Activity Policy, or PPKM. The President considered this policy is no longer effective in suppressing the spread of COVID-19 in Java and Bali.
President Joko Widodo asked for an evaluation of the ongoing Restricted Community Activity Policy, or PPKM. The President says this policy is no longer effective in suppressing the spread of COVID-19 in Java and Bali.
Menyampaikan mengenai yang berkaitan dengan PPKM tanggal 11 Januari sampai 25 Januari. Kita harus ngomong apa adanya, ini tidak efektif. Sehingga di beberapa provinsi COVID-nya tetap naik. Saya ingin Menko ajak sebanyak-banyaknya pakar epidemiolog. Sehingga dalam mendesain kebijakan itu betul-betul bisa lebih komprehensif.
According to President Jokowi, the PPKM policy had an impact on the economic downturn. However, there is no need to worry about the economic downturn as long as PPKM is able to quickly reduce positive cases of COVID-19. The President believes if the handling of corona is fast, the economic recovery will also be faster. From all sources, for IDX Channel.
Meanwhile, epidemiologists assess that the effectiveness of the Community Activities Restrictions Policy, or PPKM, is still below 30%. And this is due to many weaknesses in implementations, from policy consistency and field supervision.
Due to President Joko Widodo's statement that the implementation of restrictions on community activities, or PPKM, had so far been ineffective in reducing the rate of COVID-19 transmission, University of Indonesia epidemiologist Tri Yunis Miko Wahyono say that the level of effectiveness of the Community Activity Restriction Enforcement, or PPKM policy, which has been running for the past month, is still less than 30%. This is because there are still many deficiencies in its implementation, from policy consistency to supervision. In line with a very high increase in cases and starting to fill up the capacity of health facilities, Tri said the implementation of PPKM should be strictly enforced, especially for areas that are in the orange and red zone. Not only limiting activities, the orange and red zones should also get priority for the application of testing, tracing, and treatment. On the other hand, inconsistent government policies are increasingly holding back the effectiveness of PPKM. Since the large-scale social restrictions, or PSBB, to the new normal, the government has often changed policies to limit social and economic activities. Previously, President Joko Widodo stated that PPKM that has been running for more than 2 weeks has not had an impact on decreasing community mobility and activities. From all sources, for IDX Channel.
The weakening of people's purchasing power continues, as reflected in the inflation rate of January 2021, which was recorded at 0.26%. And the Central Bureau of Statistics stated that the lower inflation was due to the COVID-19 impact, which can be still felt without any entered in 2021.
The Central Statistics Agency, or BPS, recorded inflation in January 2021 at 0.26% on a monthly basis and on an annual basis at 1.55%. Inflation in January 2021 was lower than the inflation in the previous month, which was 0.45%. BPS sees the lower inflation as a result of the impact of the pandemic, which continues to suppress people's purchasing power. Head of BPS Suharyanto explained that the pandemic has reduced people's mobility and the economy has been slow to move, and this has ultimately resulted in a decrease in income, which resulted in weak demand.
Inflasi pada bulan Januari 2021 adalah sebesar 0,26%. Inflasi ini lebih lambat dibandingkan inflasi pada bulan Desember tahun 2020 yang sebesar 0,45%, juga lebih lambat dibandingkan posisi pada bulan Januari tahun 2020 yang pada waktu itu adalah sebesar 0,39%.
Based on BPS monitoring results in 90 cities, throughout January as many as 75 cities experienced inflation, with the highest inflation in Mamuju, West Sulawesi at 1.43%, while 15 cities experienced deflation, with the highest deflation occurring in Bau-Bau, Southeast Sulawesi at 0.92%. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel.
Just a week after government issued government retail bond 019, the sale of the bond has been around 3.3 trillion rupiah. Just a week after it was released, the sale of government's retail bond 019 to retail investors were already around 3.3 trillion rupiah. This means 33.22% of the sales target set by the government of 10 trillion rupiah. Bonds in ORI 019 series carried a fixed coupon rate of 5.57% and have a tenure of 3 years to mature on February 2024. The day papers were offered online to Indonesian individuals who could invest between 1 million rupiah and 3 billion rupiah each. According to Chief Research and Business Development Officer Bareksa, Niputu Kurniasari, the fast-selling retail bond 019 is supported by high public interest in government securities products. It is an attractive option for retail investors because it is seen from the security side guaranteed by the government. In addition, the yield offered is still better than deposits. From all sources, IDX Channel. Market headlines will be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned.
Otoritas Jasa Keuangan optimis pertumbuhan kredit perbankan akan mengalami perbaikan. Indeks harga saham gabungan ditutup di level 6.389.834 mengalami penguatan di 0,26%, di mana secara keseluruhan belum mampu.
Pariwisata dan Ekonomi Kreatif membuat 3 pilar program yang akan dilaksanakan pada tahun 2021.
Kita lihat bahwa memang prioritasnya adalah wisatawan Nusantara, domestik. Jadi produk-produknya juga eventnya outdoor.
kesuksesan hulu migas Indonesia ke depan ini apa, Pak?
Fleksibilitas fiskal yang akan dikeluarkan untuk menjaga keekonomian. Investor akan datang itu saja.
Oke, Pak.
Keekonomiannya terjamin.
Finally, listed company Bank Syariah Indonesia started operating by February 1st, 2021, or today, after being inaugurated by President Joko Widodo at the State Palace. And the capital market analyst stated that this will make the share price of Bursa go higher. Legal merger has done, and the merger of 3 state-owned Islamic banks in Indonesia has started. As of February 1st, BNI Syariah, Bank Syariah Mandiri, officially merged with BRI Syariah to form Bank Syariah Indonesia, the country's largest Islamic bank. The capital market observers predict that the issuer of a Bank Syariah Indonesia stocks will have opportunity to continue to grow, along with the large Islamic capitalizations market. And for that, research analyst at Atronaci International, Ruth Simak, predicts that the trend of Bursa stock price will have an opportunity to go bullish like in 2020. It is estimated that the total assets of the merged entity will reach 214.6 trillion Indonesian rupiah, or equal to 15.2 billion US dollar. Plus, the total equity is 20.4 trillion rupiah, or equal to 1.4 billion US dollar.
Itu dari sisi teknikal, Bursa juga masih dalam keadaan bullish. Hanya saja koreksi akhir-akhir ini agak sedikit dalam. Tapi jangan khawatir, selama bertahan di atas 2100, Bursa masih bisa kembali ke area tertingginya di tahun 2020 atau minimal di area 3200.
These large number brings the company amongst Indonesia's top 10 bank in terms of assets and the top 10 Islamic banks in the world in the terms of market capitalization. Jakarta, Wicky Adrian for IDX Channel. Fresh from the oven, it is happening now. Indonesia has its largest Islamic bank, Bank Syariah Indonesia. The President Director of Bank Syariah Indonesia, Heri Gunadi, said that it was an honor and pride for Bank Syariah Indonesia to start its official journey from the State Palace. So yeah, Bank Syariah Indonesia is a merger of 3 state-owned Islamic banks, and let's see the shareholders proportion in the next graphic. Through the next graphic, we can see Bank Syariah Indonesia's shareholders. First of all, we can see Bank Mandiri as the majority of the shareholders within the ownership of 51.2% of the Bank Syariah Indonesia as a whole. And then moving on to Bank Negara Indonesia that owns 25% of the shareholders of Bank Syariah Indonesia. And the next one is Bank Rakyat Indonesia within a 17.4%. And the rest, a DPLKY, a BRI by 2%, and then also the public shares that got 4.4% of the whole Bank Syariah Indonesia shares. And the President Director Heri reported that the integrations began in early March 2020, or it took around 11 months. And can you imagine, it took only 11 months to develop biggest Syariah bank in Indonesia. And during that time, the stakeholders did the entire due diligence series, like signing the merger deed, submitting the information disclosure, and also obtaining permits from the Financial Services Authority, or OJK. And the results of this merger provides great energy for the national economy. So how is that so? It is because the survivor entities, which are Bank Mandiri Syariah, BNI Syariah, and BRI Syariah, already have a stunning financial performance. So let's see the survivor entities' financial performance in the next graphic. Here it is. We can see on how BRI Sharia, Mandiri Sharia, and BNI Sharia financial performance. We can take a look first from BRI Sharia from its total assets by 56 trillion rupiah in whole 2020, and also moving on to Mandiri Sharia, which is the biggest among of all, by 119 trillion rupiah total asset in 2020, and moving on to BNI Sharia from its total equity, it reached 52.39 trillion rupiah. And then moving on, if we take a look at the funding that BRI Sharia provide, it takes 40.4 trillion rupiah throughout 2020, and moving on to Mandiri Sharia by 79 trillion rupiah within 2020. And how about funding in BNI Sharia? It reaching 32.28 trillion rupiah. This is such a stunning financial performance by the survivor entities, and it is estimated that the total assets of the merged entity will reach 214.6 trillion rupiah, or equal to 15.2 billion US dollar, and plus the total equity is 20.4 trillion rupiah, or equal to 1.4 billion US dollar. These large number brings the company among Indonesia's top 10 banks in terms of assets and the top 10 Islamic banks in the world in terms of market capitalizations. And SOE Ministry is optimistic that the Bank Syariah Indonesia will accelerate the realizations of the multiplier effect for the national economy. The reason is, with this merger, the scale of coverage and services of Islamic banking will increasingly reach the public. So let's see how's the network from these three merger banks in the next graphic. Here it is through your screen. We can see the survivor entities network. First of all, we can see through the first index is BRI Sharia with the customers of 3.8 million Sharia customers, and moving on to Bank Mandiri Sharia within 8 million customers, and then BNI Sharia within 4 million customers. And if we take a look at the offices they got, we got BRI Sharia with 1 regional office, 71 branches offices, and also 200-ish sub-branches, and also 10 cash offices. And moving on to Bank Mandiri Sharia offices, it got 736 offices across Indonesia, and also BNI Sharia by 383 offices all across Indonesia. And it is expected that Bank Syariah Indonesia will operate by relying on 1,200 branches and more than 20,000 workers spread across the country, so it can maintain the relevance of the product offerings to customers. And despite being the world's largest Muslim populations, Indonesia is still falling behind the Sharia economy, and this bank becomes Indonesia's strategy to re-up its full potential. So let's sum up the valuations in the next graphic. Through the next graphic, we can see Bank Syariah Indonesia's valuations, which is projected that the total asset will reach 214.6 trillion rupiah. Magnificent. And if we talk about the main capital or the equity itself that gathered from the Bank Syariah Indonesia, it will reach 20.4 trillion rupiah. And yes, on the other hand, it is estimated that the total assets of this merged entity will reach 214.6 trillion rupiah, or equal to 15.2 billion US dollar, plus the total equity is 20.4 trillion rupiah, or equal to 1.4 billion US dollar. On a separate occasion, State-owned Enterprises Minister Erick Thohir hopes that Bank Syariah Indonesia can enter the world's top 10 Islamic banks by 2025. On the other hand, if there are no unexpected obstacles, Bank Syariah Indonesia can enter the top world's top 10 largest Islamic bank based on the market capitalizations in the next 4 or 5 years. And then the president and director of Bank Syariah Indonesia, Heri Gurnadi, said that the Bank Syariah Indonesia is committed to being a banking institutions that serve all lines of society to become a modern and inclusive bank in providing services to the community. Still upholding the principle of Sharia, being a bank owned by customers because it has competitive products and meets the needs of the community services. And yes, viewers, as Sharia economy still holds enormous potential, we hope that Indonesia can seize this opportunity by accelerating the development of the national Sharia economy and finances, and of course through Bank Syariah Indonesia. And yes, viewers, stay tuned with us because market headlines will be right back after this quick break.
IDX Channel, the Indonesia Stock Exchange channel, is the authorized capital market channel in Indonesia. To give references to global investors, IDX Channel also presented the news about the dynamic of Indonesia's economy, business, and capital market in English. IDX Channel also have different types of programs. They are Special Dialogue, Market Opening, Market Review, IDX First Session Closing, IDX Second Session Closing, Market Headlines, and News Screen. IDX Channel is aired 24 hours a day with 5 hours live program from Indonesia Stock Exchange trading floor. Our vision and mission as the only capital market TV channel in Indonesia that is committed to improve the capital market knowledge in the country. News that had been delivered on IDX Channel can also be seen on our digital platforms, so you can give yourself an update about informations anywhere and everywhere. IDX Channel can be watched through Vision Channel, First Media Channel, IndiHome Channel, and Vision Plus, and also live streaming on idxchannel.com. IDX Channel provides information from around the world from different perspectives. We provide you various investment strategies, stock options, inspiring figures for your business references. IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business, and capital market channel.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. So viewers, let's take a look at Jakarta Composite Index into the movement. So earlier today, JCI was open at a level of 5,744.65, and then approaching the closing time in the first session, the index was on the level of 5,950.42, and then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. The index was closed at a level of 6,067.54. In short, JCI went up 3.5%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got mining as the leader of the strengthening trend that went up 6.67%. We got basic industry that went up 6.58%, and consumer goods that went up 1.67%. Meanwhile, music industry went down 0.51%. Then moving on to the top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. We got Aneka Tambang that went up 17.12%. We got BRIS that went up 14.75%. We got BBRI that went up 5.26%. And then we got BMRI that went up 1.9%. And meantime, for the top losers for today's trading sessions, we got Astra International that went down 1.23%. We got Film that went down 4.4%. We got KIEF that went down 4.49%. And we got ERA that went down 6.91%. And next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,115. Rupiah was also showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at the level of 14,010. In summary, rupiah went up 0.74%. The Indonesia Stock Exchange extended the ban on short-selling transactions amid the volatile market conditions. Initially, the exchange intended to open the ban as market conditions begin to recover.
The Indonesia Stock Exchange extended the ban on short-selling transactions amid the volatile market conditions. Initially, the exchange intended to open the ban as market conditions began to recover. This prohibition is confirmed by the announcement of the Indonesia Stock Exchange, which states the IDX reaffirms that there is no list of securities that can be traded on a short-selling basis until a later date. Regarding this, the Director of Trade and Assessment of IDX Exchange members, Laksono Widodo, confirmed the short-selling transaction permit was postponed until market conditions subside. Previously, the IDX intends to reopen short-selling transaction activities in line with market conditions that began to enter a normal era earlier this year. In fact, the IDX has released a list of margin securities and or short-selling, which is planned to take effect in February. Even though the short-selling transaction permission was postponed and the list of securities was removed, the margin transaction license remained valid, as well as the list of securities that could be transacted and pledged as collateral in a margin transaction. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Siloam International Hospitals has allocated a capital expenditure of 350 billion rupiah in 2021. The capital expenditure is mainly for financing 3 hospitals' development.
Pandemic doesn't stop Siloam International Hospitals to undergo expansion. This year, Siloam International Hospitals has allocated a capital expenditure of 350 billion rupiah. While in 2020, Siloam International Hospitals allocated a capital expenditure of around 300 and 400 billion rupiah. All of the budgeted capital expenditures come from the company's internal cash flow. Siloam International Hospital's head of public relations, Danang Kemayan Jati, stated that Siloam Hospital will add 3 more hospital networks this year. The 3 prospective hospitals are located in Banjarmasin, Jakarta, and Surabaya. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Step aside from market conditions as coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situations, here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic business and capital market channel. I'm Claranta Wijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.